I hope you can all hear me. I hope you can all hear me well. My name is Agustina Tocalli, and I know you know a little bit about myself from the bio data in the announcement, but let me go quickly over it. I am originally from Argentina. There I worked as an ESL teacher for quite many years, and then I moved to Canada for 9 years, and there I studied my MA in Applied Linguistics and my PhD in Second Language Education at the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education. And there I worked and studied and worked and published with Dr. Swain and Dr. Cummins, and we work mainly on French immersion education, something that we're going to touch upon today. And then I became very interested in CLIL and worked as a consultant on CLIL related topics in Peru, and now I'm here in Mexico. So again, good morning everyone. Good morning for me. I'm not sure where you are, but let's get this one going, and thank you so much for logging in today. And as I said, we are going to discuss CLIL today, which, as you probably know already, stands for Content and Language Integrated Learning. Now, of all acronyms that we have mastered in the many years of second language teaching and research, I myself find CLIL one of the most attractive and self-explanatory ones. So maybe that is the reason why it has been adopted widely and popularly, and it has become an umbrella term for other approaches and methodologies in second language education. Now, if you are already teaching in a bilingual school, if you are already teaching task-based learning, content-based instruction, you are probably already CLILing without even knowing it, without even being aware that you are having an approach that's very close to CLIL. So this is precisely why we are here today, to become aware of what we are doing in the classroom, how we teach, and try to improve every step of the way, and become aware of what CLIL is. Because there's a lot about CLIL out there, and that is why I think that an introduction to CLIL today is very important. And this is my proposal for you today. We are going to cover the basics of CLIL. Even if you know a little bit about CLIL, I think it's nice and important to have the basic principles, the core features, and everything outlined for you today. And my proposal also includes this PowerPoint presentation that I hope you find it useful, because my idea is that as we go along, you find the slides also self-explanatory, and you don't have to be bored by looking at me all the time, but you can also look at the slides that I'm going to present as we go along. So let me give you let me give you a presentation overview. We are going to look about Pre-CLIL Times. There's lots about CLIL, but there's lots that happened before CLIL, and things that happened before CLIL are the reason why we can become very interested and involved with CLIL matters. We're going to talk about the impact of Canadian immersion education. I told you in my introduction that I am, so to speak, I grew up academically and professionally in Canada, and my background in French-Canadian immersion education I think is of great help to understand CLIL today. Also, we're going to talk about the rise of CLIL, the foundation pieces of CLIL, the core features of CLIL, and at the end we're going to work on some implications. We're going to discuss them and to see actually some pedagogical lessons that we can apply to our classroom right away. So I have to be honest with all of you, and I have to say that the fact that I'm here sitting in front of a computer, it's a little bit weird. I know that maybe there are lots of you out there, but here I am almost just by myself, so I decided to bring a friend along. I'm not going to introduce only CLIL today, but I also want to introduce my friend Barb. Have a look at the cartoon for 1 second, please. Well, as you can see in this cartoon, this is quite an unfortunate moment in my friend's life. Poor Barb, she's at a business meeting. She was asked to record the meeting minutes, and when she heard minutes, she started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and obviously, as you all know, she was not expected to count minutes as in time, but she was expected to write in a summary what was said and discussed at that meeting. But that, as I said, is an unfortunate moment in her life, and I would like you now to think of my friend Barb as a second language learner. I want to picture the setup of the classroom where she was taught English. I want you to think of the resources that were used by her teacher. I want you to think of the type of teacher she had. I want you to pick the results obtained. But actually, you don't have to picture the results obtained, because the cartoon is an actual real picture of what happened to Barb and her poor results as a language learner. So by her looks and by her performance, I think that with some degree of certainty we can say that Barb belongs to the old days of teaching and learning languages, in which we were mostly focused on learning rules and learning linguistic features or memorizing word lists. And those days are gone, thank goodness. We all know that. And we all know now that studying a language is really important, and we have become very aware that the fact that we can learn another language, that we can study another language, sharpens our students' cognitions in ways that no other school subject can, and that's amazing in terms of what languages can do to our brain. So today we are really very fortunate, because we have the opportunity of integrating both. We have the opportunity of studying another language by studying school content and school subjects. And that is, in a way, in a nutshell, what CLIL is. CLIL, if we, oops, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, I messed up. Sorry about this. No, I can do it. I'm sorry, everyone. Sorry. Here we do have the definition, a formal definition of content and language integrated learning. And it is, I didn't do anything and it skipped, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, good. I'll keep going, that's true. A formal, next please. A formal definition for content and language integrated learning, we can take it from Marsh. Marsh is one of the founding fathers of CLIL. Actually, if you if you search CLIL, you will be coming up with the name of David Marsh very often. And so this is what he says about content and language integrated learning, that it is a dual-focused educational approach in which an additional language is used for the learning and teaching of both content and language. So how did we get to this point in teaching? How did we get this pedagogical lucky, if you will, where we have the great chance of acquiring another language incidentally through academic content while developing our thinking skills? That's a very nice combo, I should say. So how did we get to this point that we have the opportunity of using CLIL and achieving so many things at the same time? And let's go a little bit back in history. I told you that we were going to talk about Pre-CLIL Times, because sometimes to understand where we stand now, it's very important to see where we were before and how we got here. So Pre-CLIL Times is what we are going to discuss briefly now, because the term CLIL, even though it's pretty new and it was coined in 1994, CLIL as a practice has a long history. So if we go back to my friend Barb, who is probably now unemployed, I should say, we said that she belongs to the times where there was a great focus on linguistic features, memorizing, and it was the time probably of the grammar translation approach, and then we know that the grammar translation approach evolved to the behavioral structural approach, and those approaches were not good enough. Besides, they were thought for the brighter students, but they were something, even though they would be within the school, they were considered like something separate and prestigious, and that's no longer the case nowadays, because the reason why those methods failed was because we all became aware of the fact that skills and knowledge of a language might not go well and smoothly with skills and knowledge for using the language in real-time encounters, and let alone with native speakers. So such an argument and other similar ones, as you know, brought us to a point in second language teaching where we started talking about the communicative approach, and we started to realize that and accept that languages were important for spoken communication and not only for reading and accessing knowledge. And so no longer long now are those days that it was a hard option, and with the communicative approach, it started to become, learning language started to become a softer option, and because we started to realize that we needed to use the language. And there were two key developments at that time that are important for us in ELT to have always in mind, that we all became to a point in time that we truly need and we have to offer in schools ELT because it is demanded and it should be included in the school system. I don't think there's any country that would argue against that, and given the possibility, I think they are all offering ELT. And the other important thing is the fact that we all know that now we know to learn by doing, by using the language. Now, these developments in the world brought everybody interested in language, even politicians very interested in trying to find ways that were appropriate for every country. And so different models of language teaching were studied, and one model for language teaching that became the focus of the attention of many who were interested in finding effective ways of teaching a language was Canadian French immersion education. I told you that I lived in Canada, that I worked in Canadian immersion education, and that's why I think it's important. It's not important, but it's good that I have that background so that I can share with you some of the details, because when you research CLIL on your own, you will be referred to Canadian immersion education as a reference or model for CLIL, or some lessons that were drawn from Canadian immersion education that apply to CLIL nowadays. Let me show you briefly with this slide what French immersion Canadian education is, in case you don't know. It began in the 60s and in the 70s, and it was to learn French. These schools had French as a language of instruction, but they taught Anglophones, or other, which is the language of the majority, or they taught to immigrants whose language was another language, but not French. So they were teaching the language, a new language, as they were covering the curriculum, the Canadian curriculum. It was proposed, as you see, by English-speaking parents, very involved English-speaking parents and academics, and they all thought that by immersing the students in what they would call language bath, they would acquire the second language in the same way they could acquire the first language if they were sent to an English school. So it depends on the resources, but of politics, but there are different types of French immersion schools. You have early, those who start in kinder or early childhood, and in immersion, mid-immersion would be around grade 4, and late immersion later, the grade 6 or 7. And as I said, language learning would be incidental to content learning. And what is really good about this setup is that the language input is really rich and authentic. They have authentic material, they have material designed for native speakers, and they have native speakers as teachers. So there's no question that the language input for Canadian immersion education is a really good one and rich. So that's a quick overview on Canadian immersion education that you must have in mind, because as I said, one of the founding fathers, David Marsh, does refer to quite a lot to French immersion education or immersion bilingual education in Canada. And what he says is what you have up on the slide. He says that immersion bilingual education in Canada helped develop awareness of the importance of a range of methodological factors that need to be cultivated in order to achieve overall operational success. Immersion education was thus an educational approach that embraced a methodological perspective. So, just to complete the Pre-CLIL Times overview, this is how we can see how we got to CLIL Times. Now, as I said, French immersion education became and remains a model for language teaching all over the world, and that is probably why we, around the 80s and 90s, we started to have so many different suggestions, offers for language teaching. I hope you can see that well. There's so many names there that I am sure that you're all very familiar with and that you probably relate to. Bilingual instruction, content-based second language instruction, extended language instruction, language-enriched education, teaching through a foreign language, two-way bilingual education. So those are many of the things that I'm sure you have come across, you have studied, or you even work in schools that call themselves or their programs with one of these terms. And that is why I think that, as I said at the beginning, CLIL became an umbrella term. And it has become an umbrella term for many of these terms. I mean, this doesn't mean that these approaches are not valid. They are, and they remain successful. But the fact that we have come to a point in which we have CLIL as an acronym that tells us that it embraces or covers all of these other approaches, I think it's something good. And that's something else that I like about CLIL. Now, you might argue, or anyone might argue, that CLIL might be yet another buzzword in the field of second language teaching and learning that might disappear in 10 years' time. I personally don't think so, and more honestly, I really wouldn't like it to happen, because I have a nice feeling, and supported by research, as you can see, that the vast majority of countries have agreed that CLIL is a good approach that meets the needs of a globalized world. And this is when we come to talk about the rise of CLIL. And let's see, and I hope that with this slide I can summarize what I want to say next, which is key to CLIL. Globalization has turned our world into an interconnected world. in ways that we have not seen before. We are really very much connected. And we are now teaching a generation that is very much focused on the immediacy of learning. They urge us to teach in a way that they can learn as they use and use as they learn. So in an interconnected world, an integrated learning is key, and the integration is key, is the essence of CLIL. I always say that of all the letters that make the acronym CLIL, the one I like the best is integration. And that's probably why it is a nice acronym that I think that can cover all the other ones that we discussed before, because all of the other ones will have education, will have content, will have language. They do have those terms, but integration is key, and that's the word I would like to focus from now on in this presentation, because integration is a very powerful pedagogical tool that can safeguard the academic content that has to be taught while promoting language development. And the way we develop that language is very interesting, because it has to be not only the medium of learning, but also the object of the learning process itself. So in an integrated world, we need integrated learning. And CLIL is regarded as one modern form of educational delivery that can do that can integrate both things. As I say, this integration has two focuses. A dual focus integration of CLIL that we see now up on the slide has to do with language included in content classes, and with content included in language classes or in language teaching. Now, if you include content like math or computer programming or geography, I'm not saying that you are actually teaching. You might not be teaching math as a school subject itself in English, but you are for sure teaching math, even if you are not aware of it. Because if you are teaching the time, if you're teaching shapes, you are dealing with math concepts. And computer programming, if you are lucky, you do have access to technology, and CLIL is totally behind technology, because in an integrated world we do a lot with technology to be interconnected. So you might be using a lot of digital material and computer, and as you use that, if you are using the CLIL language, English in our case, you are also integrating content and language. And to integrate it in ways that are meaningful and that are attractive, you need strategies to repack the information that can facilitate the understanding. You just kind of stand up and talk about something. You have to use charts, diagrams, drawings that can support the understanding of the language and of course of the content. Now in terms of content from subjects, school subjects, here I noted that it says the language teacher in cooperation with other teachers of other subjects. You might not have the possibility to cooperate with another teacher, because you might not be working in a school where there's a math teacher that can come into your room and help you out with, I mean, not in your room as in your classroom, but as a discussion teacher to teacher about how to teach math in another language, or explain to you the concept. But you are for sure, if you want to incorporate some math or some science, you're for sure to get some resources that are specific for that area, for math or for science. So there's also cooperation with resources from subjects so that the content becomes more interesting. Okay, so that I can summarize with what I really, really like, that is this pyramid triangle. Have a look at it for 1 second. And we have always talked about content and language up to now. And we have, if you think of this pyramid, and if you have a look at me for 1 second, let's think of language and content. So my right hand is language, my left hand is content. The only way to integrate them is to join my hands, and if we get to join them at the top here, there will be something missing, right? And that's how the triangle gets completed, if I have something that supports that integration. And what supports that integration cannot be underestimated. We keep on talking about language and content. That's right. That's what CLIL is all about. But it's very important that we have the support. And that support comes from learning skills that can help us. You as a teacher, and it can help the students as learners to make the most of that integration of content and language. With that pyramid in mind, let's move to our next slide and see what is unique about CLIL. And I try to summarize it for you so that we can go through it together. I'll walk you through the pyramid. We're going top down. The CLIL approach involves a new approach and a certain degree of change. So it is a new approach, and you will be asked to tune in to CLIL features or key words or key approaches to CLIL, but it's not asking you to change your whole teaching approach, because it can fit already in what is established. We all know that there's a national, regional curriculum, and there's a school program, and there's some parameters already established. CLIL fits into that. We're not saying forget about all that. We are adding to that, because CLIL cannot be separated, as number 3 there says, from good practice in education, because we are adding value, we're not subtracting. As I said at the beginning, you are probably CLILing already, and without even being aware of it. But being aware of what you do is really important, and empowers you greatly as a teacher. So, speaking of you as a teacher, at the bottom, it says that CLIL encourages you to keep using your favorite strategies. I'm sure you're doing great things in your classroom, and you have great ideas. Those apply to CLIL. CLIL can help you make the most of them too. But what CLIL will require you to do, as I said, is to become aware of what you're doing. And at the very bottom, it says that it requires an understanding of the essential strategies that constitute the core features of the CLIL methodology. Now, if you research CLIL, if you read CLIL, you will come up with some specific ideas, principles about CLIL, and one is this one, which is the core features of CLIL methodology. There are 6 out there, and it's multiple focus, safe and enriching learning environments, authenticity, active learning, scaffolding, and cooperation. I do have another slide that follows that can gives us some detail so that we can talk a bit about the core features of CLIL. Now, multiple focus, almost what we have said up to now, we are talking about having language and content at the same time. So there are two things to focus on, and one supports the other one. So when you focus on language, you have your language goals to achieve, but they are supported by content goals, and vice versa. Content goals are supported by language goals. Now, in terms of a safe and enriching learning environment, I'm sure you're doing this already. I'm sure that you are very good at this, because if you have logged in today, you are very involved teachers. and being involved. It's being caring and using routines in your classroom, a discourse that your students feel comfortable with, learning centers, and guiding access to any material that they have provides a safe and enriching learning environment, and that is completely supported by CLIL, of course. Authenticity, number 3 there. It's to accommodate interest and of the students, wishes of the students, and make good connections with their life, so that whatever you do becomes meaningful and interesting for them. Now, with the English language, there's no shortage of material out there in the media, internet, that you can use in the classroom. So we're very lucky because of that. We can really make use of authentic material in the classroom. Access is easy for us when we teach English. Now, active learning. Now, this is I love this one because it favors peer-to-peer interaction above your own interaction with the students. And we can never underestimate the powerful interaction that can happen when you put two students together. One might be stronger than the other one and can help, and the results are amazing for both of them, even if one was apparently helping the other one more than learning something new. The fact that you have the opportunity to explain something, it's learning itself. So that's really powerful. So understand, please, that CLIL will favor active learning in terms of peer-to-peer interaction more than your interaction with the student. Now, scaffolding here, yes, you do have a great role to play. I love the word scaffolding, and it has to do with construction, as I'm sure you're all aware of it. And you have to build, and we keep on using construction vocabulary, build on the students' existing knowledge. And you respond to different learning types, learning styles, and you challenge them to take another step forward by repacking information, by explaining things in a friendly way, by being creative. But you are needed to provide that scaffold. You're required to provide that scaffold as much as you are required to remove it later on. That is, you are expected as a CLIL teacher to help your students, and then hopefully they will be able to do what they were doing with your help, or the help with a peer, or the help of a dictionary, or a book, or the media, but they can do it on their own. So that's why I like scaffolding so much, because again, I insist you are required to provide it as well as to remove it when the time comes. And it's our goal that that time comes. Cooperation, that also has to do with cooperation among the staff members, the community, the parents. So those are the core features of CLIL. Wow. So those core features of CLIL are driven by, let me go to the next slide first, by what you have up there, that is taken from this book. I'll refer to this book later, but I've taken this visual representation of what drives the core features of CLIL from this book. Actually, I have it marked here for you. It's here. I don't know if you can see. And a successful, as it says there, a successful lesson should combine the following elements. A CLIL lesson should combine these elements: cognition, content, communication, and culture. Those are called in the CLIL literature, if you then do your own research, they are called the 4 C's of CLIL. Now, let us look at briefly some explanations on them. Content is what we have talked about. It's the progressive knowledge and skills and understandings that are related to the topic that you're going to cover. And you're going to cover that topic using communication that is in another language. In our case, the CLIL language is English. And so communication has to do with the acquisition of the language through the use of the language. Now, in terms of culture, we're using another language, so we are exposed to another culture. And we are exposed to another way of seeing life and alternative perspectives and awareness of others as well as yourself as a speaker of another language. And cognition is learning is driven by cognition. We said that at the beginning, that we have this amazing pedagogical opportunity to enhance your cognition, your thinking skills, and by learning another language. So the whole process of CLIL learning is driven by cognition. Those are the powerful thinking skills that drive the whole learning in the classroom. Now, if I had designed this by this diagram, I said that it comes from this book. I would have put cognition supporting the other ones, because that's the idea. We'll have turn it upside down and have content, communication, and culture, and they're all supported by cognition. But that's the original that I want you to keep. And one of the things that I also have taken from this book is, well, now let's see how we can get all of this going. And the authors of this book suggest that we use 4 verbs. They call them fusion verbs that can guide our practice. These are connect, inspire, deliver, and advance. And as I explain these, if you can think of a recent lesson you have taught, or one that you have in mind, or one that you are in the process of planning, maybe you can answer these questions. In terms of connect, what we would like is, as we teach, because this assessment using these verbs shouldn't be, hopefully they would not be an after the fact. They can help you go along and ask yourself the questions as you are teaching your lesson, your CLIL lesson. So for the first one, connect. Have my students connected, or are they connecting with myself, with their peers, with the book, and with previous knowledge? That one, previous knowledge, is really key, so that we can keep on building and developing their knowledge. Inspire. I'm sure that's something that that's a nice verb, but it's not very nice when you have blank faces of your students looking at you. So it's very nice to ask yourself, assess yourself with this inspire question in this way. Are they looking motivated? Are they engaged with what we are doing? Are they engaged with learning? And deliver has to do with what you do and they do. If they are delivering on the language and on the content and on the skills, remember that's triangle. So are they practicing the language and the content and the skills throughout this lesson? And advance, of course, we all want proof of learning, of developing. Not only us as teachers, but of course students want to see that they move ahead and forward in their understanding of the content and of the language. So can they perform? Are they doing things that on their own, that before they needed my help or the help of a student? So Those are nice verbs to have in mind that will, in a way, to add another C, connect the four C's that we have just discussed, that are cognition, communication, content, and culture. Well, so far, we have discussed the basics, I would say, for CLIL. But as I said, and I would like to leave my personal touch to, as I mentioned before, my work in Canadian immersion education has an impact on me greatly. Not only bilingual immersion education has had an impact on CLIL as an approach, but it has had, of course, an impact on me. And one of the lessons for me that was the most important lesson was the importance of output. Now, output would be, of course, is the other side of the coin to input. We discussed when I told you about one of the lessons drawn from French immersion was that they had very authentic and rich input for their students. And of course that's great, and that's something that you as a language teacher, as a CLIL teacher, you are expected to do. We are all expected to provide rich, comprehensible input to our students. I'm sure I haven't met you, but I can bet money that you are all very aware of Prussian and the comprehensible input hypothesis. But today I also want you to become very aware of the other side of the coin, of the output side. Because even if your English is great, even if you have great resources, you standing up there blabbing about science, math, geography in the second language will not do it. That's not CLIL, because CLIL also supports output. And you know that you haven't forgotten about my friend Barb. She did go to another. Well, she was fired, of course, and now she has been hired again because she said she had attended other courses in second language education, and she enrolled herself. She registered in a course that was very much communicative, but when she got to another meeting and she was asked to record the meeting minutes, look at what happened. She couldn't write. But she thought to herself, I did understand everything that was said. I truly did understand everything that was said. And I believe her, and I hope you do too, because I'm sure that by now Barb does know the word minutes, but she was unable to write everything that was told in that meeting in proper English. She couldn't do it in proper, clear, grammatical way. She couldn't account for what was going on there. Because, as the title of this slide says, comprehensible input is not enough. And I'm sure you know that, and you had the experience that it is not enough. You need your students to produce the language. Because producing the language involves different cognitive processes than comprehending the language. You can comprehend the language, you can get the gist of the message, and you can feel great about it, but then you cannot retell what was told. Just like Barb, how many times probably you feel that you are really getting everything, that you understand, and someone comes to you and says, what did she say? Oops, and you would like to say, but you cannot say what it was told to you or what you heard, even though you understood everything completely. So that is why I want to, as I said before, for me, the most important letter in the CLIL acronym is integration. So I would like you to take today this message from me. Besides integrated content and language by supporting students with learning skills, I would like you to see that in CLIL we need also, it's very important to integrate input and output. Because as the slide says, although comprehensible input supports student second language development, it is clearly not sufficient. Producing language is different from comprehending language because they often demand different processing strategies that will certainly impact on learning. So, and look at this. CLIL students' productive skill, speaking and writing in particular, are likely to exhibit many features that are non-target-like if, only if, proper attention and time is not given to opportunities to speak and to write. So I defined this for you to think of this cogwheel, and to get CLIL going, we have to, as we have discussed all throughout the session, we have to have comprehensible content and comprehensible language. That is to say, we have to have comprehensible content that has a systematic and consistent focus on language. So there you go, the integration of the content and the language. But also, you have to have this other cogwheel running, that it gives opportunities to produce the language in meaningful content. And my friend Barb did understand that. She did take our course in CLIL, and look at what happened. She was at a meeting now, and she was able to record everything that was said there. She said that such and such were present, that the budget was approved, and she even said that everything that she wrote was recorded at 9 hours, 25 minutes, and she even used another meaning for minutes. And of course, it was, again, the last meeting for her, because she then was promoted to a manager position. So, if you want to keep CLILing, I suggest you do two things. Here at Macmillan, you have the opportunity to go to One Stop CLIL. It goes to One Stop English, and then there's a tab that says CLIL, and there is lots about CLIL for you to keep reading, and there are lessons, and there are suggested activities, so and articles, very nice articles, short and sweet, that can get you going. I hope that this introduction gave you the basis to log on any of those articles. And then you also have this book, which is a Macmillan book, as I said, and there's a link to that one there. And in that link, you also have a video where the authors, there are 3 authors to this book, will talk a little bit about CLIL. And in my next slide, let me see, I also suggest that if you want to keep CLILing with me, you have my email number there, my email address, sorry. And also, this is very hard to read, but I understand that it will be sent to you in another format. These are the references that I used mainly to prepare this presentation for you. You also have this book there. There's another CLIL book there. There are other things that you can find on the internet, and the rest would be most of my work in Canada with Dr. Swain and working on the output hypothesis, because as I said, it's nice that we integrate not only content and language, but we become really aware that there should always be an integration between input and output for CLIL. Well, thank you very much. This is the last slide that says that you can ask for a certificate, and it also says that you can feel free to include a line telling us what you enjoy about today, and I truly welcome feedback, and I thank you for that too. To comment? I did give my email address. Okay. I must here, so that you have it on the screen to write it down. Yes, of course. No, I have to comment. Oh, right, thank you. I thought that comment would